The term zombie comes from Haitian folklore, referring to a reanimated corpse which is controlled by magic. But Hollywood has given it a makeover with various flavors using science, magic, and psychology. George A. Romero is known as the godfather of the zombie genre, who kickstarted the craze with his film in 1968. And in today's video, we introduce you to films, of course including Romero's works, that you should definitely watch, even if you are not a die-hard fan of the genre. Before we begin, take a moment to click the like and subscribe buttons to support our efforts and to stay updated on the latest notifications by marvelous videos. And now, dim the lights and grab a pillow, because these films are not for the light-hearted ones. Night of the Living Dead, 1968. George Romero's independent film Night of the Living Dead was released in 1968 and is credited with the invention of the modern zombie. The story of this black and white film revolves around 7 people who are trapped in a rural Pennsylvania farmhouse. The flesh-eating reanimated corpses were referred to as ghouls, but they became the modern portrayal of zombies in pop culture. Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea are the protagonists who play Ben and Barbara, respectively. When Barbara decided to visit her father's grave along with her brother Johnny, the siblings didn't know what danger was awaiting them. They got attacked by a pale-faced man, and during the tussle, Johnny lost his life. Barbara escaped, found shelter in a farmhouse, and discovered that the pale-faced man was not alone. There were many ready to feast on the living. And then Ben arrived, who also hid inside the farmhouse to save his and Barbara's lives. But they both were aware that 5 more people were already hiding in the cellar, fearing the monsters lurking outside. The rest of the story is about how the group fights for survival, but one by one, each member meets a tragic end. And if you think this film must have a conventional happy ending with some members surviving the terror, then you are wrong. The critically acclaimed film not only fetched impressive numbers at the box office, but also became a bona fide cult zombie movie. The documentary-style cinematography of the film made it feel real. The set design played an important role in creating an atmosphere filled with tension and dread. What made the audience bite their fingernails was not only the flesh-eating monsters, but also the distrust and suspicion between the 7 people. And the thing that blew everyone's mind, leaving them stunned and at a loss for words, was the film's shocking end. Spoiler alert, the last survivor from the group, Ben, who fought to save others, was shot by an armed posse after mistaking him for a ghoul. Tragic, right? Train to Busan, 2016. Any discussion about zombies is incomplete without mentioning the South Korean action horror film released in 2016. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho, the film is written by Park Joo-suk. Seok-woo, a divorced father, grants his daughter's wish of celebrating her birthday with her mother in Busan. The duo boards the train KTX-101, accompanied by other passengers. What was meant to be a comfortable journey turned into a horror nightmare when an ill passenger boarded the train, and then turned into a zombie. During a struggle for survival, the caring father sacrifices himself to save his daughter, and unlike Night of the Living Dead, Train to Busan has a bittersweet ending. The majority of the film is shot on a speeding bullet train, leaving the characters in a confined space and very little scope to hide. The zombies shown in this film are quite different from the slow and staggering undead portrayed in other movies. Instead, they are shown to be aggressive, fast, and agile. The transformation of a human into a zombie after they get bitten by one is instantaneous rather than a gradual process. And the screeching cries of the zombies, the muffled screams behind glass, and the sudden moments of silence amplify the fear. Like audiences, the film impressed the critics for all of these thrilling effects as well as the plenty of social commentary that complemented the action. The creators preserved the emotional core of the story, which resonated with the audience, often lacking or underutilized in zombie movies. The film is a must-try if you enjoy good action, speed, and, of course, horror. Dawn of the Dead, 2004. Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's directorial debut, Dawn of the Dead, was written by James Gunn. It was a remake of George Romero's film of the same name, released in 1978. After a zombie outbreak and losing her husband to a zombie attack, Anna received help from Milwaukee's police sergeant Kenneth Hall. Together, along with other characters, they sought refuge in a nearby mall, where survivors are hiding from the danger outside. Yes, like all other names on this list, This movie also narrates the story of survival, but there is one moment in the film that twists your heart painfully, making your skin crawl. One of the infected characters, Luda, gives birth to a baby and died. Now the survivors have to make a hard choice to ensure the safety of their lives, getting rid of the zombie baby. Like Train to Busan, the zombies in Dawn of the Dead are also fast and agile, while Romero's zombies were slow and lurching. The attacks came unannounced and fast. The film keeps you hooked from the first minute itself, with the first 10 minutes filled with tension and disorientation. According to Redditors, it is one of the greatest introductions of all horror movies. The scene about the zombie baby's birth was disturbing on many levels, something that is not usually seen in the film. The movie was released in the United States post 9/11, when the atmosphere was tense and the feeling that no one was safe lingered in every mind. As Stephen King noted, Snyder successfully represented that dreadful atmosphere through this film. 28 days later, 2002. Danny Boyle's 2002 post-apocalyptic horror film, 28 Days Later, was written by Alex Garland, who was inspired by George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead film series and John Wyndham's novel published in 1951, The Day of the Triffids. When a group of animal rights activists broke into a laboratory and released an infected chimpanzee with a highly contagious virus called Rage, havoc was unleashed across Great Britain. People succumbed to this infection, which led to them attacking others and spreading the virus. Bicycle courier Jim, played by Peaky Blinders star Cillian Murphy, awakened from a coma after 28 days only to discover the outbreak of the Rage virus. The first thing that stuck in his mind was his parents' safety. Unfortunately, the couple had already killed themselves, leaving Jim heartbroken. As he fought for survival, he saw a ray of hope and security in the army. Inside a heavily fortified country house, Jim and two female survivors accompanying him were about to release a sigh of relief when Jim discovered another disgusting secret. Major West, the commanding officer of the facility, revealed to Jim that female survivors would be lured into sexual slavery to maintain his troops' morale. The entire idea was more disturbing than watching the bloody living dead hunting. Of course, Jim resisted and tried to escape with his companions. To know if he succeeded or if the infection was stopped, you must give this movie a try, and I promise it won't disappoint you at all. 28 Days Later was not only about body horror and fear, but also about political allegory and humanist drama. The victims shown in the movie are not reanimated corpses, but living humans infected by a virus, consumed by rage. The unsettling backgrounds, deserted streets, and the evidence of mass massacre are not only visually disturbing, but also leave a great emotional impact. The disgusting plan of the Army Major West about the female survivors adds emotional tension far beyond gore, introducing moral horror to a new degree. The director did not consider it a zombie film, yet the film was known for reinvigorating the zombie horror genre. The film is also credited for influencing the revival of the genre with its character-driven drama and fast-paced narrative. Day of the Dead, 1985. This was the third film from George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead series. 7 years later, after the events of Dawn of the Dead, a few scientists and soldiers who survived the zombie apocalypse live within a secure underground missile bunker located in the Florida Everglades. The scientists are attempting to find a remedy to deal with the zombie pandemic, while the soldiers take on the responsibility of protecting them. However, the tension began sizzling between the two groups over the concern of maintaining zombie specimens inside the bunker for scientific experiments and the dangers associated with it. Things started turning worse in a condition where they were running out of supplies, had lost communication with other survivors, and the research was slow and its results were uncertain. During a zombie roundup procedure, a zombie escapes, killing 2 soldiers and attacking scientists, which snaps the commanding officer Rhodes' patience. He called off the experiment, denying any protection to the scientists. The rest of the story follows how Rhodes' iron fist attitude escalates the situation, and a suicidal member lets in a horde of hundreds of zombies inside the bunker, followed by a bloodied mess. The zombies, created by the makeup artist Tom Savini, are decayed, slime-covered monsters with exposed tissues. The sight of them, and the scenes where the victims are slowly torn off, brutally disemboweled, vividly pushes the disgust to extremes, forcing the audience to want to gag more than once during the film. The setting of the film is in an underground former salt mine, and it is claustrophobic. Imagine getting stuck inside such a tight space when hundreds of monsters are waiting for a chance to break through. And the most chilling element of this film is undoubtedly scientist Logan's pivotal experiment, Bub, a zombie who is still clinging to the fragments of humanity. The unpredictability of his character keeps the audience on the edge while making them wonder if an undead creature could be humanized by conditioning. Rec, 2007. This Spanish film, released in November 2007, is considered one of the best films in both the horror genre and found footage genre. Reporter Angela Vidal, accompanied by her cameraman Pablo, was covering the night shift in a local fire station when the firehouse received a call about an old woman trapped inside her apartment. The pair joined the firefighters in their new mission. When the door of the apartment was broken, the old woman aggressively attacks the rescuers, biting one of them. Panic surged, and the police and the military sealed the building, trapping all residents inside. The old woman continued attacking other people. When a health inspector arrived and checked the situation, he concluded that the victims were infected with a virus like rabies. The source of the outbreak was traced back to a dog owned by a young girl named Jennifer, who spread the infection further by biting others. The only survivors remaining in the building were Angela and Pablo, who discovered a penthouse filled with numerous religious artifacts and evidence that proved the conduct of some experiments. In a tape recorder they found in the penthouse, they discovered that the owner of that penthouse was a Vatican agent, tasked with isolating an enzyme carried by a young Portuguese girl who showed symptoms of demonic possession. This girl found Angela and Pablo in the end, and while followed would definitely send a chill down your spine. The entire film is shown through the lens of Pablo's handheld camera, with completely raw and unfiltered visuals. The majority of the film was shot in a quarantine apartment complex in Barcelona that had narrow stairwells and rooms. So when you see people running for their lives through the narrow space, you feel the dread that the characters try to portray. The thing that makes Rec extraordinary is not only its camera work, but also the distinctive combination of zombie, virus, and occult. Something that was fresh and unprecedented. Let me share a fun fact about the lead cast, Angela. She was not merely playing the role of a TV reporter, but was one in real life. The Night That Eats the World, 2018. This French zombie horror film was based on Piet Agarman's novel of the same name. A musician from Paris, Sam, visited his former girlfriend, Fanny, to retrieve some music tapes. She was throwing a party, and after multiple attempts from Sam's side, she told him to get those tapes from her office. Once inside, Sam's nose started bleeding before he passed out. The next morning, when he woke up, he found Fanny and the other partygoers had turned into zombies. The infection had spread across Paris, and the apartment was seemingly the only place Sam could find. He checked the entire apartment building to find it empty, locked it from inside, and stocked all the rations he could find in other apartments. Using musical instruments he found in one of the apartments, he kept himself entertained. But over time, he grew unhinged and lonely, craving attention. The winters and the lack of water supply worsened his situation, adversely affecting his mental state. One day, after hearing a sound outside his bedroom, he fired a gun, only to realize he had shot a woman named Sarah, a survivor. She urged him to leave the building if he did not want to die or go insane. But Sam soon realized that Sarah had already died because of the gunshot, and every conversation he had with her was a result of his hallucination and not reality. Although Sarah died, she motivated him to leave the building, facing the fear. The Night Eats the World is distinct from other zombie films on our list for two reasons. The first is its unique depiction of the zombies. They are not noisy, shrieky monsters, but almost entirely mute, not giving away their presence. The feeling of them popping out of nowhere lingers throughout the film, as the characters and the audience remain unaware of their location because of their silence. And the other reason is the film's focus on its core theme, isolation, and its psychological impact. Sam's character gradually breaks down, mentally deteriorating because of loneliness, fear of the unknown, and despair. Humans are social creatures, and though all of us wish for isolation at some point in our busy lives, the film has shown the dark side of it, and how the absence of human touch can turn one's life bland and depressing. The Sadness, 2021. This Taiwanese entry on this list will surely intrigue you. Released in 2021, The Sadness became the feature directorial debut of Canadian filmmaker Rob Jabaz. An argument broke out between government officials and medical experts in Taiwan over a virus named Alvin, which was responsible for influenza-like infections. The government refused to take preventative measures against the transmission of the virus, and the common people considered it to be a myth. After a young couple, Jim and Kat, passed a bloody crime scene, they parted ways. Jim went to a cafe, while Kat left on a train. At the cafe, A crazed woman with bloody clothes and dark pupils attacked customers, infecting one of them and killing others. Jim witnessed the whole scene, only to get chased by infected locals while he ran back to his apartment. Worried for Kat, he texted her to let her know she was safe and that he would definitely rescue her. But then his neighbor attacked him with garden shears, cutting off 2 of his fingers. On the other side, Kat's train was attacked by 2 infected men who spread the infection to others. The train space became a chaotic mess where infected people sexually assault and kill others. Kat barely managed to escape. The situation slipped out of hand when an affected army general killed the president on live television. Jim escaped to the city outskirts and contacted Kat while suffering hallucinations. And that's when we realized that he too had been infected. By the end of the movie, the mood turns even more somber, and the ending shakes audiences to the core. In the end, Kat too gets infected. This entry is perhaps the goriest and most disturbing zombie film because it showcases extreme violence. From the cafe scene to the final hospital scene, the movie is a ride through a total visual nightmare. It's a depiction of cannibalistic violence, complemented with a heightened sexual desire of the infected, which surely would make your skin crawl in disgust. These infected zombies took pleasure in torturing others, psychosexually and physically. The victims cry, aware of their wrongdoings, feel remorse, and yet are utterly powerless to stop themselves because of the Alvin virus. If you are planning to give this film a try, good luck! Pontipool, 2008. Bruce McDonald's Canadian psychological horror thriller film Pontipool, the last entry on today's list, is based on Tony Burgess's 1995 novel Pontipool Changes Everything. A morning at a radio station in Pontipool, Ontario, turned unfortunate when radio shock jock Grant Mazzy encountered a deranged woman repeatedly uttering the word blood. Soon, reports of cannibalistic violence surfaced, throwing the town into chaos. The situation forced Grant to barricade himself inside the radio station, along with producer Sidney Breyer and tech assistant Laurel Ann. Dr. Mendez too joined them, revealing a horrifying hypothesis. A plague encoded in the English language was spreading through specific words, turning the listeners into homicidals. At the end, Grant and Sidney survive by reshaping the meaning of many words. However, the radio play has an alternate ending where they both fall victim to this virus. Rather than blood or pathogens, Pontipool used language as a medium of infection, an idea so unique that it sets the film apart from other zombie movies. Zombie, 1979. Fulci. Lucio Fulci's Zombie was adapted from an original screenplay written by Dardano Sacchetti. It was written to serve as a sequel to George A. Romero's film Dawn of the Dead. When an abandoned boat entered New York Harbor, 2 harbor patrolmen boarded it. But a hidden zombie killed one of them. The other patrolman shot the zombie, but little did he know that his partner was already infected. A British journalist, Peter West, was investigating the story, which led him to Anne Bowles, daughter of the boat owner. After they learned that Anne's father was suffering from a strange illness on a Caribbean island, Matul, they embark on a journey to go there. West and Anne discovered many zombies attacking the people of the island after arriving. A researcher informed them that those undead were the result of a voodoo curse, which he was trying to stop. The pair survived and left the island after multiple zombie attacks and losing many companions along the way, and returned to New York only to find the city under zombie attack. One of the noteworthy scenes from the film was a fight between a shark and a zombie. When a naked scuba diver was attacked by a tiger shark, he then had to battle a zombie corpse underwater. And do you know what was mind-blowing about the scene? The tiger shark was real and not mechanical. Gutsy. Other gruesome scenes, including the one where a female researcher's eye was slowly skewered, made fans feel relieved when it was finally over. The soundtrack for the film was created by Fabio Frizzi and included tribal rhythms and haunting synth cues, which only fueled the eerie tension. Another interesting aspect of the film's story is that, rather than providing a rational explanation for the zombie outbreak like all other films on our list provide, here it is tied to a voodoo curse and supernatural evil. Marvelous verdict. And that's 10 zombie movies that will shake you to the core, not just with deadly monsters. From claustrophobic train rides to a post-apocalyptic world, these movies will surely mess with your minds, leaving a buzz even minutes after watching them. Every film listed in this video has its own storytelling, plot twists, and variations, yet none of them would fail to entertain you. We hope you liked today's video. Let us know your favorite entry from the list in the comments below. We'll see you next time.